Talk about a dog whistle. Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. Donald Trump's latest stunt involves the highest mountain in North America. Trump says he wants to rename Alaskas Denali and change it back to Mount McKinley, as in President William McKinley.
They took his name off Mount McKinley, right? That's what they do to people.
Well, McKinley wasn't even a president yet when, in 1896, a gold prospector suggested naming this Alaska mountain after the Ohio Republican presidential candidate. Many Alaskans scoffed at their mountain being named for a Midwesterner. Plus, William McKinley never set foot in Alaska, ever. So, in 2015, the Obama administration changed the name to Denali, which in the language of Native Alaskan tribes means tall or great. It's what Native Alaskans had called the mountain for 10,000 years. And the change back to Denali was a sign of respect.
It's a reflection of really acknowledging the value of the culture of the people of Alaska, the first peoples of Alaska.
But in honoring Native Alaskans, Donald Trump insists the U.S. government disrespected the memory of President McKinley.
President McKinley was the president that was responsible for creating a vast sum of money in the United States that Teddy Roosevelt then spent. So let's say they were both excellent presidents, but McKinley did that, and that's one of the reasons that we're going to bring back the name of Mount McKinley, because I think he deserves it.
Does McKinley deserve it? Historians rate him as an average president, and some of his failures were significant. Under President McKinley, banks failed. Unemployment was more than 10% for 5 years, and McKinley put tariffs on a variety of imported goods, raising consumer costs while eliminating taxes on luxury items. Like Donald Trump, the wealthy got more money and the working class got less. Clearly, at least because of the tariffs and perhaps because of McKinley's ultimate fate, Donald Trump feels a connection and wants to honor McKinley's memory with a mountain.
I think he deserves it. There are lots of things we can name, but I think he deserves it. That was not very gracious to somebody that did a good job. And as you know, he was assassinated.
Donald Trump was the target of 2 assassination attempts, so there was that connection as well. But Alaska's senators, both Republicans, are pushing back hard. Lisa Murkowski has told local reporters that Trump's plan to bring back Mount McKinley is an awful idea, and she wrote on social media, "There is only one name worthy of North America's tallest mountain, Denali, the Great One." A spokesperson for Senator Dan Sullivan issued a statement saying, quote, "Senator Sullivan, like many Alaskans, prefers the name that the very tough, very strong, very patriotic Athabascan people gave the mountain thousands of years ago, Denali." The Alaska senators have been through this before with Donald Trump. As the Anchorage Daily News reports, Trump suggested changing the name back when he was president in 2017, and both Murkowski and Sullivan objected. Sullivan said in remarks to the Alaska Federation of Natives annual conference, according to an ADN article of the time, the senators met at the White House with Trump and then Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke to discuss Alaska issues, Sullivan said, including reversing Obama executive actions the senators had opposed. At the end of the meeting, Sullivan said, "He looked at me and said, I heard that the big mountain in Alaska also its name was changed by executive action. Do you want us to reverse that?" He and Murkowski jumped over the desk. We said, no, don't want to reverse that, Sullivan said. Sullivan said he told the president Denali was the name given to the mountain by the Athabascan people more than 10,000 years ago. And Sullivan's wife was Athabascan. If you change that name back now, she's going to be really, really mad, he said, he told the president. So he's like, all right, we won't do that, Sullivan said. So why is Donald Trump revisiting this again? Well, Donald Trump is certainly feeling emboldened in the wake of the 2024 election victory. Plus, he clearly feels a bond to McKinley because of tariffs and the assassination. And maybe Donald Trump is hoping for a Mount Trump someday that is associated with something other than Trump's alleged affair with adult film star Stormy Daniels. Mount Trump? Anyway, I think a simpler explanation, though, is the most likely one. Donald Trump arguably doesn't give a hoot about Native Americans or Native Alaskans. In Donald Trump's mind, a white president is more important, even though that president, William McKinley, was historically average and never set foot in Alaska. Plus, Donald Trump's comments about changing back the mountain name came while he was pledging to undo the Democratic rebranding of Southern military bases previously named for Confederates. The Confederacy fought for slavery. And Donald Trump feels that white people in this day and age should not be diminished because of history. Never mind, of course, that Native Americans, including the Athabascan tribe in Alaska, are being diminished in the eyes of Donald Trump. Changing the name of a mountain would not be subtle. It would signal that in MAGA world, a white president is superior to any group of people who actually have historical and cultural ties to a particular part of America or who exist as minorities. But that's Donald Trump. He sees himself and William McKinley, and he sees non-whites and other minorities as people who should be put down. Amazing. By the way, one of Donald Trump's most outspoken supporters in Congress, Jim Jordan, is trying to rewrite the history of January the 6th and is getting shredded.
We find out that there were 26 confidential human sources here in the Capitol, at the Capitol. Well, some of them came in the Capitol. 26 of them on January 6th. 17 went in the restricted area, 4 went in the Capitol, 0 were arrested. And remember, confidential human source is a fancy name for spy. Spying on Americans.
Spying, surveillance, whatever you want to call it, what Jordan did not mention in his rant is that the FBI activities occurred during the Trump administration. Remember that? One of the fallacies in MAGA logic about January 6th and the claims that Democrats did it or set it up to make Trump supporters look bad is that a Republican president, Donald Trump, a Republican administration, was still in power. Donald Trump still had oversight of every agency in the U.S. government, including the FBI and the Department of Justice.
All this stuff happened. So thank the good Lord we had a change in this administration back on November.
Well, a new report from an independent investigation finds zero evidence that federal agents were involved in inciting the January 6th insurrection. The report undercutting now years of baseless claims spread by far-right political figures attempting to tie the FBI and the deadly attack.
It's no secret, we've covered in court proceedings, that there were confidential informants for the FBI on the ground among the crowd. But this report kind of sheds light on why that was the case. And what we've learned in terms of numbers is there was only 26 confidential human sources among the crowd that were in Washington that day. Now, 3 of those who actually entered the Capitol, this report found, were actually assigned by a field office with tracking a specific domestic terrorism suspect in a case that the FBI was pursuing at the time.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Take the Shot, who wrote, Jim Jordan was complicit on the January 6th insurrection. I hear you. I look forward to reading your comments about Donald Trump's latest stunt backfiring in his face with Republican senators hammering him. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.